Hello, my name is William Kumwemba and this is Business Time. It's a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories that are making headlines in the country. And in this edition, we look at strides the country has made towards becoming a digital economy. And also in the program today, domestic debt eases in the second quarter of 2021. We have a report. We have these and other stories. Stay tuned if you could.
Tiguleza tu
Zinenenje so munalimo muno
eya ndimadza kulya ruzina ndi zina amwali
umande mwashopata sugar apo tikona nkaka umatu masambati nje mulibe umo
alamwe kuti samwaliwo masamba
ndakhaso ti ngati amwali komanso to inu mubasket yonse yangodzadza ndi made in Malawi yokayoka tamakani moyo otsogola pogula zinthu zakunja
maganizo amene uli ndiobwezera chitukuko cha dziko lino mbuyo kugula zinthu zopangidwa kwathu konkuno kumathandiza kukweza ntchito za makampani a mdziko muno zomwenso zimapereka mwayi wa ntchito kwa anthu ambiri ogwira ntchito akachuluka dziko lathunso limatolera misonkho yochuluka chumanso chimakwera mukagula katundu wakunja mumangolemeretsa mayiko akunjawo ife sitipindula kanthu
kani
tikuwuzani
ipo ndendamvetsatu ndandikire pompa nene ndikagule zinthu zathu za chimalawi sindichedwa ndikire
tigule zathu tikule dziko lathu
ndidikire sindichedwa
dziko lathu bai Malawi tikonde kunyadira za chimalawi tikamagula za kunja.
Hello and welcome. This is Business Time, and in our main story in the program today, the advent of COVID-19 has brought some changes to the world of work, and digital transactions have become a pinnacle of most of the things across the globe. Now, we try to chronicle how Malawi has embraced the concept of digital economy in as far as digital or electronic payments is concerned. Our journalist Chimwemwe Mangazi has the whole story in this report.
Evans Paulo has been running a fruit business at Zingwangwa Market in Blantyre for the past 5 years. He cares less about protecting himself and his customers from the coronavirus as he goes about his business without wearing a mask at a crowded marketplace. He is willing to receive payment from his customers through digital platforms, but claims the customers are not forthcoming to explore the available platforms.
We only receive cash because we do not ask customers to pay through digital platforms.
His counterpart, Tom Malunga, selling plastic bags, says it does not make business sense considering charges on the digital platforms since they sell low-value items.
It make business no sense because of mobile charges. That's why we not receive money through using cell phone. We only receive cash only.
However, Hamlet Katunga, who runs a grocery shop at the market, says some customers prefer to pay using digital platforms, especially when they run out of cash.
I've been seeing people coming here buying with Airtel money, more people they come with transactions. We made some transactions, and as well as I'm an agent. I do transfer money, send money, buy extra units. So it has been very simple to me to do business like that. Maybe at a day, they come maybe 10 or 15 or more than that.
ICT Association of Malawi President Bram Fudzulani attributes the low technology uptake among SMEs in Malawi to high cost, lack of awareness, and lack of trust in digital systems.
The biggest contribution, I think, is the lack of resources. You find that SMEs are very specific to putting their monies in terms of business aspects. So most of the SMEs do not have, if you want me to use the word, the luxury resources channeling their resources into the digital innovations. And that is so because maybe we haven't put deliberate measures. We've seen in other countries, I think, they're saying, how do we build back our economy, but even build better by leveraging on the digital revolution that has happened. And then they are putting like special programs and special innovations that SMEs can actually tap into without them having to invest directly in those kind of digital innovations. So maybe that is one thing that we have seen in Malawi also lagging behind. And the second one is the issue of the digital skills itself. Most of the SMEs, maybe they are not well equipped or are aware of other digital innovations that exist. You know, some of the digital innovations that are enabling businesses to still do their businesses in this COVID era, you do not even have to pay. You just have to know how to use them and how to access them. So the other component, I think, is awareness aspect, that most SMEs are not aware of what digital tools exist that they can tap into to, prosper with their businesses.
In a recent interview, Minister of Information Gospel Kazako said the government is working hard to reduce the cost of ICT services in the country.
We are working around the clock to make sure that our people do not continue to suffer because they've cried enough. And this, for example, let me just give an example in education. For us to educate, say, 20, 30,000 people, it requires huge infrastructure. But if we make ICT fluent and affordable, what's going to happen is you might have a university that will have an intake of 5,000 people, but it's very easy for you to have 30 or 40,000 people online. So many people will be graduating every year. Many people will be becoming graduates every year. So we are aware of all these things, that the world is not what it was in 1972. The world is not what it was in 1961. This is a totally different world, and it's a digital world, and matters to create affordability, matters to create ability, matters to create necessity, have to be treated with a lot of clarity and, of course, treated as priority. Otherwise, we might be scratching an elephant on the back, and that's not what we want to do.
A recent study by the United Nations has revealed that small and medium enterprises continue to face trade facilitation challenges due to low technology uptake. According to the Digital and Sustainable Trade Facilitation Survey, countries across the globe are moving towards a seamless and efficient trading environment by simplifying and digitizing formalities in international trading.
Now, figures we have sourced indicate that in the second quarter of 2021, government domestic borrowing eased to 202 billion Malawi kwacha. Of course, this comes as there's been concerns by stakeholders that government has an insatiable appetite for domestic borrowing, which to an extent is clouding out potential private sector players. Now, what is the drop in the domestic debt by the government mean to the local economy? This is a question our journalist Justin Kweu posed to some economic commentators and has since filed this report.
Figures contained in the 2021 second quarter economic review from CDH Investment Bank show that during the period under review, the government raised 30.58 billion kwacha in auctions of treasury bills and 171.67 billion kwacha in auctions of treasury notes. During a similar period last year, the public debt was seen at 308.86 billion kwacha. The review added that total applications for treasury bills during the period amounted to 31.91 billion kwacha, representing a rejection rate of 4.6%, which is higher than the rejection rate of 3.57% in the first quarter of 2021, but lower than the rejection rate of 33.31% during the same period last year. Looking ahead, the bank expects yields of the government securities to remain elevated in the short term as far as government domestic borrowing needs remain high and the RBM continues to pursue a cautious monetary policy in the face of high risks associated with COVID. The report says in the long term, however, a possible policy rate cut when macroeconomic conditions improve and aimed at supporting economic recovery from effects of COVID could lead to a decrease. Commenting on the figures, economists from the Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences, Bechani Chereni, attributed the drop in public debt to a pick up in the agricultural marketing season.
We have been in a relatively non-lean period. By that, we mean that it's a period where maybe the Malawi Revenue Authority has been able to raise some resources because it's a period where economic activity is quite high, and therefore people would have been paying the taxes. So maybe the government would not have seen any reason to borrow more. The second reason is that maybe there hasn't been the resources for government to borrow. You may recall, you may know that when government, through maybe the Reserve Bank or the Treasury, for them to sell treasury bills, if they advertise, it has to take people to have the willingness for them to say that I'm going to lend money to the government. So it could be the case that maybe there hasn't been many resources, but that is quite a trivial reason. The other important reason is maybe because the government decided that we are going to spend, but controllably. We're not going to spend any which way. We need to make sure that we have reduced in some areas of our expenditures. You may recall that because of the COVID-19, not many travels have been undertaken. Government officials are not traveling. So in terms of allowances, it means that you are able to save some money traveling outside the country, and even within the country, there are more online meetings, and that's a saving because that aspect actually government spends a lot. So with that, then government would have realized that we don't really need to borrow as much as we should borrow.
Chereni further urged the government to purposefully work towards taming its appetite for borrowing. He said high domestic borrowing negatively affects the economy in terms of inflation and interest rate, for example. Therefore, he said, if this reasonable borrowing can continue, it will be good for the economy.
It is a hope for us that we are going to have this as a sustained activity. And if it is a sustained activity, we can actually state that it's a very good thing because this borrowing has become very dangerous for us. If we continue to borrow like this, the budget deficit is going to continue to increase and inflation is going to rise, and with that it means interest rates are also going to rise, and the macroeconomic fundamentals are going to be left without any control, and that does not become a healthier thing. But if this continues, like we said, we hope that it is going to continue, then it is a healthier thing. However, looking at the way the economy is and the ambitions that we have when we consider the budget, the way the Minister of Finance announced in Parliament, we think that it's maybe one of those once-off things.
Economists and businesses have been advising government to curb its appetite for domestic borrowing, describing it as expensive and not healthy for the economy.
Remember, this is Business Time. It's a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories that are making headlines in the country. We'll be right back. And when we get back, we look at the potential of civil society involvement in as far as climate insurance is concerned. That's when we get back inside Business Time.
I've got that feeling, that linger feeling. 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 Bwembwe.
Made from fresh local fruits of mulberry, jambula, rosella, strawberry, plum, white guava, and white peach, and naturally fermented for 1 or 2 years in our cool cellar, comes Malawi's own Linga. Here's to a smooth taste, unsurpassed quality, and distinctive fruit wines. When in Malawi, it has to be Linga.
Welcome back. This is Business Time, a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories that are making headlines in the country. Moving on with the program, some local non-government organizations are pushing that the government introduces some special subsidies for climate-related insurance. This call was made recently in Lilongwe. And Julius Ngoma is CISOC coordinator and explains the rationale behind the proposal.
Because we already know that whatever happens as a country, the rainfall season will always be unpredictable. And if that's the case, we can subsidize fertilizer, but we can't subsidize, we cannot foresee what is going to happen even after we plant or we apply the fertilizer. What if there are so many losses as a result of maybe heavy rainfall or maybe fewer rains, even though we have actually put fertilizer in the soils.
But what are experts saying on the proposal? Master Mbale is the Insurance Association of Malawi member and shares the view of the association in this interview with a journalist, Taonga Sabola.
It is important for the farmers to buy climate insurance in the sense that when there is drought or flood that has affected them, at the end of the day, the insurance companies will come in and compensate them or pay them something so that their life should continue, not be affected because of the drought.
Now, moving on to other business news. A local consultancy firm, Sycamore, has reiterated the need for institutions to advocate savings and investment culture among Malawians as a way of preparing for retirement. This was said at a training held recently in Blantyre. Audrey Mwala is the institution's founder and shares the experience that she has had encountering with people that are advocating investment and savings culture in the country without journalists. Yamikani Kajaje.
This training is about planning for retirement, and what we are essentially doing is to help people to be aware that one day they will retire. The point I've said is aware, because I know that people do go to work and they are on pension, but they don't actively make themselves aware that one day I will retire. So they are so busy working, but they don't actively think about the retirement. And because of that, they don't plan. So what they do is they leave everything to the employer. When they are getting their pension every month, going for the contributions, they think it is enough. But they get shocked the day when the day comes that they are supposed to retire. That's when they realize that what they have is very, very little. It's not enough. In fact, sometimes it's even 20% of what you used to get. So we are trying to help people to be conscious and to be active, to start planning for their retirement by showing them different investment options of what they can do, but also making them aware of the lifestyles which can cause them to be uncomfortable in retirement. We are encouraging people to plan for retirement from an early age, because when you start doing it early, you can also retire early, but you also don't have to panic in terms of how much you contribute because you have a long period. But at the same time, if you want to retire early, you can contribute more and retire early and be able to do something else that you want, not being forced to go to work because you don't have an income, but you are working because you are passionate about what you want to do. So this really is about showing people the employment, the Pensions Act, to just show them what is there, the provisions, but also showing them what they are entitled to, but also giving them the tips, the investment tips. And we are also going to form an investment club out of the people that are here, to help them to start saving towards retirement, because people don't know how to save. We are going to show them different options on how they can invest and the different products. We are talking about investing on the stock exchange, how they can take part in investing in shares, investing in insurance policies, the different policies that are provided there, but also to invest in entrepreneurship, and also for them to just understand the general financial discipline principles that are needed for one to have a decent retirement. People do commit suicide after forced retirement because they are not prepared. Money is the king. As they say that money talks. So quite frankly, money is like the blood of of a person. If you don't have blood, you die. If you don't have money, you will not survive. Everybody needs to have money. Even churches need to have money. Even a beggar needs to have money. So we have to understand that even in non-governmental organizations, they need money. So if you don't have money as a person, you can't survive. And that's why people are stressed and they take away their lives. But with the trainings that we provide at Sycamore, employees do not have to suffer because they will know what they need to do. And the good thing about our training is that I myself had planned for my retirement for a period of 10 years. I was able to reach the financial independence that I needed to be able to retire by myself. And when we say financial independence, what we mean is that you've been able to create alternative sources of income that can support you without a salary from your employer. And really, retirement should be a time when you should be happy that you've done your work and now you are ready to rest. But you can only rest happily when you have the money to support you.
Now, that story brings us to the end of today's edition of the program Business Time, a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is William Kumwembe. Always remember, if it doesn't make money, then it doesn't make sense. Bye for now.